But yeah, I think like over time, like I realized like yes, like they reached out to me like for a reason. Like I've done like work in this before, like I presented on this before.
Hello and welcome back to Voice for You, where we empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. I'm your host for today, Ashwika Bhandaru. Today we're joined by Aliza Lopez, a Gen Z innovator, researcher, and advocate for change and leadership everywhere. Welcome, Aliza. How are you today? We are so excited to have you on Voice for You.
Hi, I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to this opportunity. I'm really excited to further speak with you just about my advocacy work and even just like learn more about like what you're doing as well. Yeah.
So a little bit about Aliza. She's currently a student at University of Rochester, and she's studying public health and legal studies. She's greatly known for founding a large-scale health nonprofit called Medicine Encompassed, which aims to promote awareness and increase accessibility in the medical field to underrepresented low-income individuals. She was also recognized as a Her Campus X Elf Cosmetics 22 Under 22 winner, and has spoken about youth advocacy for change, health equity, and leadership at an international level, making her an aspiring youth leader and inspiration to students everywhere. Liza, thank you for being here to share your story and inspire others. We are so happy to give you the mic today to hear your thoughts. So first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, your passions, and just who you are as a person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as you said, like I'm Eliza, my pronouns are she, her. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I'm here in Rochester, New York. Yeah, I'm a student at the University of Rochester. And yeah, I would say that even like on campus, I've done a lot of like health advocacy work, especially like community engaged work. As you mentioned, I am majoring in public health and doing a minor in legal studies. But there's also a program at my university called the Certificate of Achievement in Community Engaged Learning. And I also completed that last academic year where I was able to kind of just like extend my health advocacy like in the Rochester community as well. Doing like workshops to just like prove like the effectiveness of like interventions and like experiential learning, especially for like middle school and like high school students, and kind of use that as just like a foundation for like what we can do for like future health education like interventions as well. But I guess just as for my work like outside of school, which I feel like a bulk of it really lies. So as you mentioned, I did found Medicine Encompassed back in high school, and it was really just branded as I feel like a one-stop shop for all things like medical literacy and like health literacy. We had like a few different committees as well that each corresponded with like a different specialty of medicine. So we would basically just like produce like resources pertaining to that field of medicine. We would have like workshops where we would reach out to different schools like internationally, such as those in like New York City, the Philippines, and Mexico, and basically present those workshops to students to inform them about a lot of different like topics of like everyday health as well. But yeah, I think another big bulk of my work also lies in mental health advocacy as well. I've worked with organizations such as Mental Health America, Hope Lab, and a few other organizations to do a few national scale events, and just like help advise on like their programming, their community building, things like that. So yeah, I think a lot of it is really born from like my own lived experiences, especially as a young Asian American woman, and kind of growing up knowing that a lot of topics in health, including mental health and wellness, were very, very stigmatized. So I feel like I just wanted to kind of transform that experience into power and just like sharing that with other Gen Z folks as well. So yeah, that's a bit about my work, but I know you mentioned like hobbies and passions as well. I guess like outside of work, I really love music. I love listening to music, but I also love playing instruments. I've played the piano since I was 5. And while I haven't been able to practice as much, sadly, because of like college and not like having like as much access to like a piano, it's something I definitely want to continue pursuing. Like I love ragtime music. It's just so fun to play. I also really love writing as well, mainly just like for my own sake, but sometimes I'll like post a little bit like here and there on like my Instagram as well, and just like other public platforms that I'm on. But yeah, that's just like a bit about me and who I am.
Yeah. So how did you like get the idea to start like Medicine Encompass? Like what kind of like sparked that idea for you?
Yeah, so I would say that when I'm like really like seeking like an opportunity or like a community or just like honestly like any platform, like I kind of have just like that desire to like build it if I don't see it already. So yeah, I feel like I'm definitely the type of person where like if I have like that type of idea, like I will do anything that it takes to really go towards it, especially if it's like a self-initiated effort. So I feel like I really just realized that like medicine, this was like back in high school when I founded it, but I feel like just entering like medicine and like healthcare and really just like breaking into that field, it honestly seemed kind of difficult because it seemed to be like a very like well-esteemed, like very like prestigious field. And I feel like in order to like have that education, like the mentorship to get there, like it's typically been seen that like you do have to have like that inherent like access to like that privilege and like that education, which I feel like so many like students, especially just like in my community or even like myself, just like didn't have. I wasn't really like born into like that network or like that really like rich access to like education or just like that really big like community of like aspiring like medical professionals. And I feel like it was definitely very valuable to be able to like make that myself, and with obviously like a few other folks and just like the youth team and like volunteers that I worked with. So yeah, I feel like definitely growing up, what I realized is that like if I've definitely like gone to someone for like information or just like advice, like it's definitely been people of like my own age. Like I feel like my friends and just like other support networks that were very very similar to myself and like my background and like my interests, like they were really like the people that I feel like I could trust more. And that's when I realized that like that peer-to-peer support and just that vulnerability that's built, I feel like that was just really important. So I feel like that really just like gave about to like the whole idea of like providing from like student to student like peer-to-peer support as well. So that's really how the whole idea of like health education and like health literacy got started within like Medicine Encompassed, and just being able to build that community with like not just people like around me, but also just people in like different areas of like the country as well as internationally. So yeah.
Yeah. So like since it is like an international level, like how do you think you like maintain like communication and like cohesion over your like group, basically, like your team members? Or
Yeah,
like
I would
interact?
yeah.
Like was it like complicated?
Yeah, I would definitely say like to an extent like it was pretty difficult, just like in general, because you're trying to like coordinate like communication and just like any other like projects like with students of different like backgrounds, like different like geographic areas and also like different time zones. So I feel like scheduling meetings was definitely like a hurdle because of that. Obviously like if you're going to like hold one meeting, like it might not be like the best time for like another person who's on like the other side of the world, and it's like supposed to be like the time that they're like sleeping. So I feel like definitely coordinating that was like a bit of a challenge in itself, and just making sure that like everyone was like on like one single platform that we could communicate on, like everyone was like kind of like caught up on tasks, like expectations. I would say that was like a challenge at first, and definitely something that we tried to figure out through like trial and error. But yeah, obviously because we are like a global organization and we've been able to like harness people from like all throughout the world, yeah, having that like single like communication platform was really, really integral for us. And I feel like a really big part of kind of sorting that out was also having different like channels for our different committees, so that like each different like work stream or like project that we were working on, it was in its own like dedicated platform that people could communicate on, rather than just like having like one big like channel where just like everyone communicates about everything. So I feel like that was also important, and I feel like that definitely helped with like contributing to like just like yeah, like sorting out and like delegating like different tasks, like making sure that everyone was on the same page. I think having people help out with like human resources, whether it came to like conflict resolution, like making sure that people had like a point of contact that they could go to when they had questions about like how the organization worked, creating like informational like guides and packets, I think really helped. So yeah, it was definitely a big trial and error. I feel like no one gets it like perfect on like the first try, but yeah, I feel like we were definitely like a learning and growing team. Yeah.
When you're reaching like underrepresented students and like just like low income students who want like more opportunities, I guess. It's like what kind of strategies do you think were like most effective in doing that?
Yeah, I think with the fact that like Medicine Encompass had like a very big like digital and like online presence, obviously like that kind of like came with the idea of like yeah, like not like every student that we want to reach is even like on these digital platforms, and I think that was really important to realize. And that was the whole point of our mission, mission to like get our resources and like outreach to those that were underrepresented or didn't have those resources. So I think like a really big initiative that we really like tried to prioritize was like our national program boards. We tried to like recruit different like student directors from different countries, and they would basically help in further like disseminating like Medicine Encompassed like work to other students and like schools in their communities. So they would really help with like reaching out to like schools in their respective country, like making sure that they could better connect with students, especially because like they already resided in like the same country. So it was kind of easier for them to just like build connections based off of like schools that they were already in contact with, like students that they were better to like better able or like better equipped to reach as well. So I think that also really helped in trying to like get our resources more to students that may not have like been familiar with our work or might just generally not have access to those resources.
You said you started Medicine Encompassed in high school, so how did you like balance like school and then this and like whatever extracurriculars you did in high school? So how do you think you find a good balance for that?
Yeah, I would say honestly that part was it was definitely like a working and growing process for me. I would say having like different platforms just to like help, I guess, yeah, just like divide up work, like see like where I was allocating like my time and effort, I think was really important. So yeah, such as like having platforms such as like Google Calendar, like Notion, like even like Google spreadsheets, like I would use to just like organize tasks for like Medicine Encompassed. I think those all really helped. I think like a strategy that I definitely did like in high school that I brought over with me to college is like time blocking. So yeah, as you may know, it's just like putting down like on your calendar like the exact like block of time that you want to like dedicate a task for, and yeah, basically just like locking in and like working like during that time period and then trying to finish it as best as possible, and then like after that you can move on to like whatever other tasks you put down during like the next time block. So I think that also helps a lot of people that I know too. And yeah, like Notion is like definitely something that I use like a lot. Like I have like pages for like everything. I think like one thing that helps my focus and like my energy a lot is like not trying to like keep ideas like in my mind, because it does take up like mental capacity. If I ever had an idea, like I would like pull out like Google Docs, I would pull out like a Notion board and start a new page. Like I would even write stuff like in like my iPhone notes and just like, yeah, like write down ideas, like write down like whatever like challenges like I was like experiencing that I wanted to like work through. And I feel like it also really helped in terms of like mental energy and capacity as well. Yeah, things like Google Drive like also helped me a lot with just like sorting out different folders. I feel like I tend to be like a very organized person when it comes to like sorting out like my work, just like making sure that everything, like every file is in just like the right category, things like that. It honestly like pays off and like helps a lot later on.
Yeah. So where do you hope to be in like the next like 3 to 5 years, like after you're done with college? Like what do you have like wanted to accomplish, I guess?
Ooh, that's a really good question. No, that's definitely something like even I think about like on
Yeah.
like a weekly basis. Like I'm like, oh, like after I graduate, like where do I want to be? I feel like throughout from like high school to college, honestly, I feel like my trajectory of like what I wanted to do has honestly changed so much. Like I feel like this was definitely in part to like founding like Medicine Encompassed and like being in like that public health, like health education field. I found through so many things like being pre-med, like even considering like being pre-law and like even considering like going into like public health as well, and like doing research or like just like community engagement and like program development for like marginalized communities. So I definitely think that after graduating college, I definitely do want to take at least like a few gap years. I feel like throughout time, like I've just really prioritized like learning and like education through more hands-on experiences, and I kind of just want to like have that more of like real world experience, like being able to actually like dedicate like all of my time to like working at like, let's say like a nonprofit organization, since I won't have like classes on the side. So definitely like focusing fully on like advocacy work is what I would want to do for like some gap years. And then afterwards, I'm thinking of going back to grad school. I might get like my master's like along the way, but I think like something of interest to me that I've really been considering is doing like a PhD as well. Definitely in something related to like human development and probably like counseling or like applied like psychology as well. We'll have to see. That's definitely something like I'm trying to like research more and like talk to people more about. But yeah, I hope just in general to just like further my like mental health advocacy and just health equity advocacy like in general to more like international scales, like maybe reaching audiences that I wasn't able to reach with Medicine Encompassed. Definitely working more with like national organizations, like maybe doing partnerships with them, since I also sit on the Next Gen Advisory Council at NAMI New York State. And if you may not know, NAMI is like a really well-known like national mental health organization. So yeah, I'm just helping out with like their New York State like branch. So I think it would be really cool to do like a summit, maybe whether that's like in person or online. Maybe do some more like workshops for like students, more like large scale events. I feel like would be really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, just definitely like expanding on like the work of like Medicine Encompassed and like just any other work that I've done like throughout college too.
Yeah. So what are like some leadership challenges that you think you've faced, like being like a young leader in like high school or even in college now?
Yeah, I would say definitely one of them that I still honestly have to remind myself to this day is just like the fact that like my leadership and just who I am as a like student and like a young person is like legitimized. Like I still feel like sometimes like when I'm in like spaces where I'm in like where I'm like the youngest person in the room, like I'll be like, "Oh, these people, like what if they don't take me seriously?" And I feel like that is also like due to like some of my identities, especially being like a young woman and also being like Asian American, which I've definitely recognized. We have been pretty like disadvantaged in a lot of like different spaces, especially like in work. So I kind of had to like tell myself like I'm putting forward like my best. Like I know that like I still have to like present myself in a way that like hopefully like I will be accepted and I could like put forward my ideas like as transparently as possible. But I think just like being in that room, like knowing that I've prepared like as best as I can, like I am doing my best. And if anything, like the issue of like me not being taken seriously because I am like a young woman or like an Asian American, like it's more of a systemic issue than it is like for me personally, because that's just like my identity and I can't really change anything about that. So I think that definitely is something that can like progress more, I feel like, when it comes to work. And I feel like that has kind of like showed up in my work a bit. Like I know like for my university, I was previously part of student government and I sat on like their DEI committee. And one thing that we tried to do was like holding more like implicit bias and like diversity like trainings for like not just students, but also an attempt to like do that with faculty as well. So I think, yeah, doing things like that and being part of like that change that you want to see, like as cliche as it is, I think was really important. I guess like other leadership challenges, I would definitely say like imposter syndrome. I feel like I've definitely seen it as a very common issue with a lot of like student leaders. But honestly, like sometimes like even to this day, like it'll kind of like rise up a bit. Especially like if I'm going through, let's say like LinkedIn or just like seeing what other people are doing. I guess like it's definitely become like better like compared to like high school. I would definitely say that like one thing that I've realized over time that I'm also trying to remind myself like even to this day is that like even like starting out in like my advocacy work, like obviously like I was trying like to put forward like the best efforts that I possibly could have, but I also realized that like everyone's like playing field like starts so differently. So a lot of like different people that I would say that were like so accomplished, like definitely like what I realized is that like so many people like start at like different positions of privilege like in society over time. Definitely start off with like different like mentorship like networks and like connections and like wealth that has also brought them to like this point today. So I realized that like obviously like I like my identity or like my background is not like identical to them. So it is kind of like expected, or I guess like not necessarily expected, but I shouldn't like try to beat myself up for like if I feel like I'm not like achieving as much, because I really am doing the best that I can with like what I know and like what I presently have. So that's also what I'm trying to like really remind myself to get rid of like that imposter syndrome too. But yeah, I would definitely say those were some main challenges. I think another challenge that I've faced over time is just trying not to like burn myself out, because I know like throughout like high school and like part of college, I really had the tendency to just like focus like so much on like this piece of work. Let's say that I'll just be like sitting down like doing it for like hours and kind of just like tuning out like other parts of like my own wellness. And I realized like I shouldn't really be doing that, especially if I'm an advocate trying to promote health and wellness in other people. And I feel like it doesn't come at the expense of like my own wellness as well. Like I feel like there's definitely ways to balance like both, like my own like wellness and like my own commitment with like the work that I'm doing to promote wellness for others and like the community. So I would say those were some like challenges that really come to mind.
Yes. Yeah. So, like, how do you find like the confidence to like speak at like an international level like you did? How did you like go about doing that?
Kind of similar to like what I mentioned like in the previous question, I kind of just like remind myself that like I was invited here, or maybe like I was accepted here like for a
Yeah.
reason. Like the people that like review the application, or like the people that like reviewed my like qualifications and decided like, oh, like she is pretty qualified to go up there. I feel like they did that for a reason, and they definitely saw something in me, even if I didn't see it in myself at first. So I feel like just kind of like having that as like reassurance, I feel like has been like really crucial for me. And yeah, again, like kind of similar to like what I said in the previous question, just knowing that like I have had like the experience and like the qualifications and just like anything else that might have like properly equipped me to, I guess, like speak on that stage, or like even like yeah, just like give advice or like guidance like on these certain like topics. So yeah, I feel like again, like that is definitely like a barrier just like mentally that I've really had to like gradually like overcome over time. I feel like sometimes like I will be even just like a bit nervous, but I try to remind myself like, okay, like I've done this before, like I can do it again. But yeah, it definitely is like a really big work in progress. Like even though like I've been in the field for like a while, like since high school, like sometimes there are still things like here and there that I still just have to mentally get through. Like, okay, like again, like I've done this before, like I can do it again. Like I'm here for a reason, so I shouldn't like doubt my abilities. Like I've done like other things in the past that have like attested to like my abilities and the fact that I can in fact do it. So yeah, I think yeah, just like telling myself that over time has helped.
So, what do you think, like, what would you say to students who, like, have ideas, but I guess are, like, scared or, like, confused on how to, like, advocate for their ideas, I guess? So how do you think they should go about that?
Yeah, I think like definitely one part of it is just knowing that like you shouldn't be waiting for like the perfect moment. I feel like even with like my experiences and what I've heard from others, I feel like there truly will never be a perfect moment.
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, you'll always be like unprepared to some extent, or at least like feel unprepared to some extent. Like I know like when I'm like always reviewing something, whether it's like a paper or like a checklist of things or just anything, like I always tell myself like, oh, I feel like something's missing, or like, oh, like I
Mhm.
feel like I could like add more to this, or like check this over, or maybe oh, like maybe this could be improved. Despite like how many times like I've already gone through it, and I think that like yeah, like it's pretty good, like it meets everything it needs to. But yeah, I think definitely just like that hurdle is something that like I guess like a lot of people should realize like yeah, like it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's like a pretty solid like idea, and you've already like consulted with like the proper like people that could help you, or you have like the fundamental like resources for it to at least like get it going and make sure that it like sustains itself for a while. I think that is important to have, but it's good to recognize that like yeah, like nothing I feel like yeah, like rarely I feel like nothing will really be like 100% like there like all the time. Like there's always just like room for growth.
Yeah.
Think, like, especially as like you're growing as a person and like your project is growing like as a project, like making impact, like I feel like those needs will like always change just like at any point in the process. So it's good to just like at least like be prepared for something to change, or like be prepared to like make those improvements, but don't 100 like yeah, like 100% like expect it to be like completely perfect at like any time, I would say.
Yeah. So, do you have any like specific moments where you actually saw your work like in effect and it made you feel like, wow, I'm making like a difference? Anything like that?
Yeah, I would say like one of them would be Um, yeah, the Youth Peer Support Action Summit that I helped to work on back in late 2023. So that summit was like a collaboration between like Mental Health America and the Copeland Center, which are two like pretty known like organizations that do like a lot of like mental health and like peer support work like nationally. And I was able to sit on like the steering committee like for that event, just like helping to plan out the virtual summit, like working with like the other youth steering committee members to really like bring it to fruition. And definitely like it took a good few months to really like put the entire like summit together. A really big part of it was also just like having an open call for proposals for the different like workshop like sessions that we would be having at the event. So we would try to make sure that we were reaching out to like as many youth as possible in the space to just like contribute their ideas, like see who was interested in like presenting at this event. And then yeah, finally like the event actually came in, I think it was mid to late November. And it was actually like really great to see like how many like passionate youth had showed up. I saw like both youth that I had previously worked with or just like had mutually known like in the space, but also some like new faces as well, which was really refreshing to see. So I feel like definitely that moment of seeing like people come together and like community being able to like launch this like large scale like national event for like advocates, I think was a really big moment for me. Like I've heard of people being able to like network with like mentors that they're still in like connection with today, like from that event, or like I've heard of people like getting opportunities that they would get before also because of the event. So I feel like it was just really, really nice to see that. I guess like another example that I can think of, I would say, yeah, this one happened in late October 2025, so not too long ago. But I was invited to speak about like youth like financing and making sure that like funding and like grant making for like youth-led mental health initiatives are like both equitable and like accessible, because the process of like funding and grant making is often so bureaucratic. There's not much like community input or like say in it, and a lot of those decisions around financing are often made by very like privileged like individuals who decide like, okay, like I want this money to go towards XYZ, but they don't actually factor in like community input or like the actual needs of like the community or like the population that they're targeting. So I thought that moment was honestly very memorable because like it was hosted by this other organization, and they had like their second like Lancet commission on like adolescent health and well-being, and it is like also like a pretty well-known platform. So I don't know, that kind of just like made me feel really like honored to be able to like speak about that. I would say like at the beginning I was like, ooh, like they reached out to me, like that's like wow, like, but yeah, I think like over time like I realized like yes, like they reached out to me like for a reason. Like I've done like work in this before, like I presented on this before, so I would say that like I am like in a pretty good position to be speaking about this. But yeah, I would say those two like definitely stick out to me.
Yeah. So, do you just have like any advice or anything you just say to young people who want to like go about their ideas?
Hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say like young people hold, I feel like so much power. Like we hold a lot of different like just like different social experiences, like different perspectives than like other generations might have had. I feel like yeah, definitely like the Gen Z experience is I feel like very unique. Like we're known to be like the digital generation, like lots of like our experiences, and honestly a lot of like social movements and like advocacy have also been like progressed and like given awareness to like online as well. And yeah, I feel like definitely with that power and yeah, just that need for like change to happen, especially with just like everything going on today. Definitely, I feel like a lot of like that work is like in our own hands as well. And I feel like we're definitely well equipped and very much like capable to take on like that change or like those movements in order to like improve like the current state. I know that like it can feel like very, very like powerless right now. And that's honestly very understandable. I've heard like a lot of like friends and peers just say like, oh yeah, like sometimes I'm not really like sure what to do other than like XYZ. But I feel like yeah, it's definitely a very gradual process. Like we're all like taking from and like learning from one another. I think like power is really just like the most like effective when we share it all together. And yeah, if we're like yeah, it's definitely just like a gradual process. Like definitely things like partnerships and like coalition buildings and like standing up for what's right. And yeah, just like education, I feel like all goes such a long way. Yeah, I think young people really have like the abilities, and we know that we can like mutually like help one another as well, like if we're ever feeling like stuck. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, there is no like perfect moment to start. I feel like there's just so much again like happening in society and just like the world right now, like where like any type of like positive action that will actually like effectively like I guess like contribute towards society, like we need that like now. I guess like yeah, there really is no time to wait. There's so much that we can like improve on, and it's best if we like do it like hand in hand and like have those like similar ideas to like affect change.
Yeah. So that's basically all that I have for you today. Is there anything else you want to say, like last words that you wanted to say maybe earlier?
Let me think about that. Um, I don't think I really have too much other than like, yeah, like I feel like definitely like I hope like this episode and I guess just like previous episodes as well, because I know like you've been able to like interview like other really cool like leaders in the space. Like I hope that it like inspires like you all. I feel like it really just like is a testament like episode after episode that like youth leaders like really have like so much that they can do to like help others and like contribute to their communities. And I feel like definitely like nothing is better than like doing it like with another person or like collaboratively. Like I feel like change cannot be done like in isolation. So I really hope that like this is another source of inspiration.
Yeah, of course. So that is all for Voice for You today. Thank you so much, Eliza, and to our viewers for tuning in today. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube, TikTok, and Spotify. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. Josh, I think we're done.